All right, so we are going through my training from 2 days ago, the 25th. Yesterday was a rest day for me just because I had so much going on. But let's take a look at what I got up to. And one of the things I wanted to share of what I do is my warm up routine. And I learned this from somebody on YouTube like over a decade ago. I'm sorry if I don't remember who it was, but they essentially said that the way that they like to get things going was just to rotate all the big joints, one direction, then go the other. The idea being that joints like circular movement. I have no idea if that's true, but it feels good to me and it's a good way to work out. So start off with my neck, as you saw there, and then I just kind of move my arms back and forth, scapular retraction and protraction. And then after I do that for a few times, I'll move into some big arm circles. And this is pretty much just getting the blood flowing. Now, this was my second workout of the day, so I was already feeling pretty good and pretty loose from our earlier workout, which was chest and back or push pull. I do antagonistic training styles, but right now I'm just moving my joints around, getting everything going and feeling good forwards, backwards. And there's really not a whole lot of complexity going on. And I find that moving one way to the other, just I can feel this in my abs. I can feel this in my lats. I can feel it in my hips, just rotating from one side to the other. I actually have had a little bit of a abdominal strain. You saw me pointing to it during my chest workout yesterday. And these are kind of one of those movements where I can feel if it's getting better because when you rotate, you'll feel your obliques and intercostals. And for me, it's right where the abdominals meet kind of the lower rib area. So kind of high and in the corner. So it's been all right. These, I think you can feel, just move your hips around in the socket. You can really kind of get a little stretch on your hip flexors as well, which works well for me. Go one way, then go the other. Again, just moving back and forth, getting the joints moving, everything, just making it feel nice and loose. And as I've said before, I don't have great mobility. And then I'll go and move down to my knees, just rotate those back and forth. I can also get these a little bit in the Achilles, a little bit of the calf as well. You're just going one direction to the other, circle back, go the other. That's not exactly complex, but it's short and it gets my blood moving. I realized I forgot to do my elbows, so I'll swing them in, swing them out, just kind of get that rotation. It's not as much of a movement for that joint, but I want to get blood flowing. I'm going to do arms. The next thing that I'll go on to is rotate at the calves up on the foot, counterclockwise and clockwise. Do it on the other foot as well. Sometimes I'll get a couple of pops and cracks in there. I'm 42. That's how they sound this time. And then I push back from one side to the other, just doing kind of not calf raises, but just kind of making sure that those calves get warmed. And, you're standing there carrying weight. I do think that having your legs warmed up, even if you're doing all upper body, is something that matters. At least that's the way that I've found it throughout the entirety of my training and, getting to feel good. So yeah, at this point, I'm just kind of getting things moving, getting blood through all the joints, making sure I feel ready and good to go. I know that sometimes people always talk about getting a sweat going. I don't know, that's one way, but I also get hinges in. I think getting your hamstrings and your hips and your back warmed up before any workout is very important to me. And after I do these, you'll see me in a moment. I grab a big band, a big thick band, and put it around my neck and do some hinges just because I feel that for me, that is a very core and foundational movement to make my body feel ready and feel right. It's just the way that I roll. And I think, again, to my point that if you've seen my other videos that I've done, you do what works for you. Not everybody might like this and might say, oh my God, Ted, that hurts my neck. I can't believe it. Does not bother my neck in the slightest. I don't have a small neck, never had neck problems. I just do these because it feels good. And again, I'm getting warmed up and I can feel that my hamstrings and my glutes and my back and my hips and my heart rate gets up a little bit just from doing these. It's, similar to a kettlebell swing, just a different resistance curve. And then, I'll go and grab a kettlebell here and do some other movements as well, as I was just kind of getting ready to feel, like my body was ready. And for, something like arms, you don't need to do exactly what you do for squats, but, I'll do some very light hinges again after this, different profile than what you would see when I was doing with those TheraBands. Then I'll do some kind of, just mini squats here. I know it's not a full squat. It's not the point, guys. I'm just trying to get warm. Then I will often do some rotational stuff like this, move from one side to the next. I think it's good for back health. I think it's good for A lot of people, if you've never done these, I would recommend doing loaded rotational lifts. You don't have to do a huge amount of weight, and kettlebells allow it so you don't have to go as low as you would with a dumbbell. But again, I find this makes my entire body feel good, and that's what I'm going for throughout the entirety of my warm up. So that is that after this one, and then we'll get into my warm up set for biceps. Again, I did back earlier. I felt like my arms were pretty warm, but I'm working on really focusing on the eccentric. So I'm trying to slow down that eccentric movement. I don't do it on every rep, and on a warm up, it's always not as noticeable, but it's something that I'm trying to remember. And you'll see me work through it all throughout these. Just, putting on a little bit of weight, getting your arms nice and warm, and just getting ready to put on some actual weight for working sets. Just going through the full range of motion. Biceps are not terribly complicated to train. So yeah, and by the way, a rackable curl bar, highly recommend. I got mine from Titan, or my wife got it for me from Titan last year for Father's Day. Great gift. So again, yeah, starting out, trying to really slow the eccentric, come all the way up, slow it down. I'm not swinging the weight around too much, just moving it back and forth through that entire profile. And I know some people say, oh, you don't get the same bicep workout as you do with a, as a whatever these are called, cambered bar, curl bar, whatever. But yeah, I think they're great. I have no qualm with them. And this is my main mover for biceps for the day. I will do these. I'll do straight barbell. I'll do bicep curls. I think people overcomplicate their training. I think if you pick a main arm exercise and do about 2 exercises, you'll be okay. Once again, you can see me this set focusing the eccentric, really working my way through it. I hate training arms, by the way. I find it incredibly uncomfortable. I don't like that burning sensation. You'll often notice here in the winter months, I will start off with a sweatshirt, and once I feel like I'm warm, then I'll take it off. Sometimes I never feel like it's that warm out. Yesterday was a nice day. Got up into the 70s. So yeah, now I'm here just doing my curls, and I don't think there's too much body English. I know some people say bring the elbows up. I don't particularly like how that makes it feel on my shoulder. So I don't bring them. I don't do the entire way up. But this is a good movement for me, and this is my final set, and I will turn this into a drop set. So I will take off these 5s that I have on each side. And I know you're saying, well, Ted, you could just do rest pause. You could, and I'm getting a little bit of a rest right now taking these weights off because I'm by myself. But I find that for me, I have more of an effect in terms of getting a really good pump when I'm all the way just going down to a lesser weight. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think you just have to go down a weight and see what you can rep out. And yeah, I'm going along to the music there because there's everything if you are a guitarist. So that's just them's the rules. I hope you understand that. Again, and then see if I can bang out a couple more reps. Just work my way through it and really focus on that squeeze. And I'm trying to, again, to control the eccentric. It's probably my last rep if I'm recalling correctly, and then really control it on the way down. God, it hurts. Just not a big fan. All right, so now I'm going over to some triceps. It's a great way to use a GHD if you have one. I warm up my elbows. Doing these, I know back in the day they used to call these like a French press or something. I don't know. That's coffee for me. But I find these hit my triceps very well. I also find that if I go too heavy or do too much, they will really, really make my elbows cranky. So I have to be careful with them. This is just warm-ups. Do a couple overhead. Then I'm going for a really big stretch on a couple reps. And I just let it drop back, pull on that hamstring or on the tricep. Do the same thing on the other side. Just do one overhead and let it pull down. Feel that stretch. Yeah. And then, I start out with a lighter weight, a 30-pound kettlebell. Same idea. Just let it pull my arms all the way down. Not trying to kill myself. I find, though, this makes a mind-muscle connection with the weight and the muscle really effective. I don't get these the same from some other exercises, at least not as deep into the tricep. I'll do push downs after this, or I've got a bicep exercise first, but yeah, just now going into a bit of a heavier one. And it's an uncomfortable position. I think that's why people also don't like these, and you have to be, mindful of your elbows. But for me, I like this. I think this works pretty darn well. And I don't have to go that heavy. And I feel like if I don't go that heavy and focus on really just working the muscle, I can come closer to failure without really, putting too much strain on the elbows. And you can see that as I go through the set, I let it take me a little bit deeper as I get towards the ends. And that's the most important thing for me, is feeling the full depth of that rep. And so as I come back for only my second working set of these, like I said, it's not what I do every single time, but I can tell by my elbows and how they want to feel whether or not this is going to be effective. And again, you'll see me let that weight go down. I take it as far as I can. Sometimes you'll hit yourself in the back of the head, as I've done a couple of times. But yeah, just the full range of motion. And this is not something that I would do lengthened partials with, just because the weight can be a little bit unwieldy in that position. But it works, and my triceps at this point are on fire. It's like, all right, I did it. Now getting on to some bicep curls. God, look at those moves. I'm cutting, guys. I'm down 20 pounds roughly since January 1. Again, another instance where I'm trying to focus on the eccentric and really give myself an opportunity to feel the burn, feel the intensity. I know the crunch, the concentric is so much more fun, but the eccentric, according to the studies, is where we get the greatest level of growth. Over the last couple of years, I've had a little bit of a hotness in my nerve and into my thumb. I think that's the radial nerve. And so sometimes I'll have to get out the barbell and roll it down my arm and just mash the hell out of it. And I feel it a little bit on pull-ups as well, but I've been able to manage it. Again, that's part of getting older, is you'll feel some bumps and bruises, and there's certain angles that I have to watch out for. But I feel like if I'm 42 years old and I can still lift weights and feel pretty good, and I go, oh, 42 isn't that. Well, when you've played sports your entire life and you've beaten yourself up pretty good, yeah, you feel it. Your warm-up becomes more important. Your awareness of what makes you feel good the next day versus what doesn't make you feel good the next day. To that point, the war is not won in one workout. And I know it's hard to acknowledge that, but you just got to give yourself the best chance of being able to lift weights. People have asked me, why do I lift weights? A, vanity, vain as hell. Second, so that I can continue lifting. I don't do this so that I can, hurt myself and be like, well, 2 weeks ago I was doing this amount of weight for this amount of reps, and then now my joint A is on fire. It's no, you do this so you can keep on lifting, so you can keep on feeling good, so you can keep on eating food that you can burn off at the gym or in your garage like I do. But I lift weights so that I can continue to lift weights, not so that I can impress people at, Safeway. I feel like when I'm at the grocery store, probably stronger than most people there. When I go work for the San Jose Sharks or the San Jose Earthquakes or any of the other sports that I cover and or broadcast, not even close, but they're not as good as broadcasters as me. So I feel confident in saying that in their specialty, they're a little better. But I enjoy this. And again, just focusing on making it through the entirety of each rep, really focused on feeling the muscle, feeling it all through. This is probably going to be close to the end. I do come in and do a drop set after this, so you can watch my bald ass come up to the camera and switch weights for you. It's pretty sexy, I know. By the way, the thing about being aware of yourself and being on TV like I am, you just become hyper aware. And I don't have body dysmorphia or anything like that. But when you're on TV and those cameras, like this camera makes me look okay. This is my cell phone, normal representation. You get in a studio with cameras that are worth more than people. Man, camera doesn't add 10 pounds. It adds every insecurity you've ever had in your life. It's like, I felt bloated one day and then I walked in and I wouldn't have been surprised if someone had said like, Ted, did you drink an entire swimming pool before you went on cam? And I was like, oh, Jesus. No one looks at myself as harshly as I do, but it's still something that I see. Again, doing another drop set here. Love the drop sets. Feel an incredible burn and focusing on the eccentric, just trying to let it down smoothly. And that's that for biceps. Now going into my second tricep. Not doing a lot here today, just 2 exercises for each. I do these push downs. As you can see, I've got multiple 10s on there because after my first working set, I'm just going to try and do a big drop set, knock off a 10, knock off a 10. I forget if I dropped off 2 or 3. But again, this feels good. And, I think that doing that earlier exercise with the overhead, the French press, whatever you want to call it, this makes you aware and feel the entirety of the tricep and all 3 heads. It's also important to note that in each rep, I think you should slightly adjust your hands and your elbows so that you can feel where you are in the muscle. And I talked about this a little bit in my video where I was doing chest. And I think that's really important to me, is just being able to feel the muscle. And sometimes that means slowing it down. That means minor adjustments. You can muscle fuck the bar all you want, or the implement or the attachment, and you will move the weight. But the older and older I've gotten, the more I feel that I get more out of the workouts where I can understand where the weight is hitting each muscle. And that's important for me. So yeah, I have a crappy pulley system. I mean, the pulley itself is fine. It's not like a weight stack where you can just move the pin. I have to rearrange things with this system. And yeah, it's not the most convenient thing in the world, but I am a believer of getting it done. I've been slowly acquiring gym equipment for years and years and years. And I've got myself a pretty good home setup. I've got a squat rack. I've got, the GHD. I've also got a couple of sleds, one that's just pull, one that's push pull. Got multiple bars, multiple attachments. I've got some kegs filled with stuff. I've got sandbags. I've got a fan bike from Rogue, the Rogue Echo bike. I also have a tire that's not in here, but it's in the backyard. And, it's fun to work out. It's fun to have these implements. Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Play It Again Sports, places like this. And again, just a drop set, just trying to pump as much blood into my arms as possible. Again, I will say this, I always could go heavier, but I really like to feel the controlled motion and really understand how this is impacting the muscle. And I think that when I, go and have my shameless pose down afterwards, you can feel it. And I didn't record all my forearm stuff because I'm an idiot, but these are the way that I do behind the back curls. You can see I open up my hands a little bit, let it pull down onto my fingers. And these are a good way for me. I can feel it, just get that burn. It's something I'm focusing on. I also have one of those rotational things. And I use that as well. And I also did some extensions with a dumbbell. But yeah, these hurt like hell. They work. I've noticed in the past, if I do too much forearm work, you can get a little bit of, not like tendonitis, but you just become a little bit too aware of them and they kind of blow up too easily when you're doing everything else. So yeah, that is my arm workout for the 25th. We'll see you next time, folks. Be good.